nonetheless, my dad had this learning experience as a kid that, hey, I can work hard, I can save my money. And not only that, my money can work for me. So I have all the money I saved and I have a Camaro. That's cool. Tall Oaks has meant something generationally to my family.
Yeah.
He never stood for how could I get rich the quickest. It was never that. It was what can I do to help people around me and what is going to keep me wealthy the longest.
Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Encompass More Asset Management LLC is a registered investment advisor with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the former Ducharme Wealth Management podcast. And today, the podcast is really talking about the purpose of this podcast, what people can expect from it, and introducing you to our new branding of the podcast, really. So without any further suspense, well, you probably know because you already clicked on it, but we've decided to rebrand the podcast, and by we, I mean primarily I, to the Tall Oaks podcast. And the reason why is because although we're super proud of the work that we do in Ducharme Wealth Management and the service we provide for clients, this podcast is meant to be a little bit more inclusive than maybe our firm can always accommodate, right? And so some of the feedback we got was that people are like, well, I'm not ready for wealth management. Or maybe people feel a little bit intimidated by that idea sometimes. And we do this podcast because we want to educate people. And we are passionate about that. And we understand that not everyone is ready to work with us or a wealth management advisor. And everyone's at different stages in their own, financial and wealth journey. But we're really passionate that there is education that should happen, needs to happen, along the way at all those stages. Mm-hmm. And it can be tough to find, quality conversations and quality information about those topics.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited about the rebrand of this podcast. And one of the things that I really enjoy is the name. I think it's a cool name. And I think the meaning behind the name is really special as well. Brandon, can you tell us a little bit about the meaning behind the Tall Oaks podcast and how that name came to be?
Yeah. So, obviously the Ducharme name is indicative of me and my family, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm taking on is kind of the second generation in the firm and helping clients that way. But what really got our firm its start is yes, it was my dad getting into the industry, mm-hmm. but it was the things that led up to him getting into the industry before he did financial planning. When he started the practice back in 2000, he was leaving a corporate job as a CFO of a pretty reasonable sized manufacturing company. And prior to that, his time doing CFO work, he was a CPA at, not to date the guy, but Arthur Young. Mm-hmm. And so, it's Ernst & Young nowadays. And it did a lot of not just audit, but tax work there as well. And he had actually run a tax practice kind of on the side while he was in his CFO era. And so the question starts to go back to, well, what got Rob, my dad, to want to go become a CPA anyways? Yeah. And it was the fundamental financial education that he received as a kid. And it goes back to my grandpa. So the story really starts there. And for anyone that doesn't know it, I think it's a really cool, fascinating story. And it's mm-hmm. one of the things that makes me believe and feel committed to the idea that American exceptionalism is real. We live in one of the greatest countries on earth, and the American dream is alive and well. My grandpa was essentially, and he's orphaned during the Great Depression in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, kind of middle of nowhere. He grew up in technically state foster care, and would walk along the rail lines to pick up coal and try to sell it and get money to feed himself. That was his childhood. After World War II, he was pretty committed to not being poor, and not from the sense that he wanted to conquer the world, but my grandpa's his purpose was self-reliance. That was always his big, main, primary goal, was self-reliance. He didn't want to be poor again, and he was going to, prevent that for him and his family. So he had taught himself about business and investing after he came back from his service in World War II, towards the end of it, and he got into real estate initially and was developing real estate, building homes. And it's incredible. Like, you look nowadays at what people do, and it's very segmented, right? You go and hire a general contractor, right? A general contractor might work with a architect who works with the engineer, who works with, right, all these sub trades, all of these things. The real estate agent might find the land, or the builder might already have it. It's back then, my grandpa learned how to actually draft houses, and he would draft his own floor plans.
Yeah.
He would design his own homes and then build them for people. And so he had this really interesting business, but figured it out. He was an entrepreneur, and he had bought a farm in the late 50s in New Berlin, Wisconsin, which is today only about 25 minutes outside of downtown Milwaukee. And everyone thought he was kind of nuts. His family, his brother, was really kind of the opinion of what are you doing? That's so far out there. Who the heck will ever want to live out there? And he actually bought it with the vision of developing this farm and subdividing it and selling lots and making a subdivision out there. Wow. And him and my grandma had been married for a number of years already, thought they couldn't have kids. Lo and behold, after they bought this farm, my grandma wound up pregnant with my dad, who's ends up being the oldest of four. And so my grandparents decided to keep the farm. And when my dad was about 4 years old, my grandpa sold the original farmhouse on the farm, and he parceled off one additional lot and sold that lot for additional funds. And on the opposite side of the farm, went and built a larger house that they were going to raise their family in. Well, now you're entrepreneur with 4 kids, and you believe in self-reliance. One of the most important things to my grandpa was teaching his kids about money and self-reliance. And so rather than subdividing the farm, he actually kept it as a kind of a purpose-driven thing, and made my dad and his siblings do what they called the Sweet Corn Project, or the Corn Project. And so they made him farm sweet corn. So all summer long, they had a farm sweet corn. And then at the end of the year, he made them sell it in a roadside stand. So he helped them set up a business, and he taught them about running a profit and loss statement, a P&L. And at the end of the first year, he took them down to the bank and helped them open up savings accounts, and told them, taught them about the importance of saving their money. At the end of the second year, my dad had enough money that my grandpa had helped him open up a money market account, and, started earning, some good interest. And he taught my dad about that. At the end of the third year, my dad was 11 years old, I believe. And my grandpa taught him about buying stocks.
Wow.
And so my dad took his proceeds from buying corn, and at 11 years old, my grandpa helped him start, buying stocks. And by the time my dad was 16, he had more than doubled his money in the markets. And so he was able to take some of his earnings and buy a 1968 Camaro.
Nice.
Which is not in the family anymore. But
you're lost. Sure.
Nonetheless, my dad had this great learning experience as a kid, that, hey, I can work hard, I can save my money. And not only that, my money can work for me. So I have all the money I saved, and I have a Camaro, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. And so,
What a cool lesson to learn at 16 years old.
well, and resonated with him so
Yeah.
deeply the rest of his life. And so as he was getting ready to go to college, my grandpa had a conversation with him and said, look, no matter what you do, you gotta focus on learning the money. If you learn the money, you can do anything else. Right. And so my dad went to BYU and got an accounting degree. And that's kind of what started then his professional career afterwards. Hey, it's no secret to us. We look at the demographics of this show. We know that a lot of you listening are actually other financial professionals and other investment advisors. We want to go ahead and invite you. If you're looking to do something different in your career, go ahead and reach out. We're always looking to bring on high quality people that understand how to do the planning process, align with our values, and are looking to deliver high value to their clients. Please just go ahead and reach out to us. You can get us on our website, ducharmewealth.com, and we look forward to talking to you. Well, after my dad was done with school, he got a job with Arthur Young in Milwaukee, and my parents moved back home. My parents ended up building a home on the family farm that my dad grew up on. So my grandpa, when we talk about intergenerational wealth, like one of the things that my family has benefited from was my grandpa was able to gift my parents a couple acres of land to build their home on, right? Yeah. And so they did that, and that's where I grew up, on the same farm my dad did, right next door to grandma and grandpa. Path through the woods, not, this is, a little bit rural Wisconsin, not right next door, but
not suburban era.
I'd ride down there. When I was a kid, I'd ride down almost every day on my dirt bike and stop and say hi to grandma and grandpa and spend some time. Nice. It was neat. And there were some really good lessons to learn that even as I grew up, and obviously finance was now a part of conversation when I was a kid. I remember a lot of the happenings of the early 2000s in the financial markets through the lens of a small child being explained to them or talked to about it in the home, but also opportunity sets like going down and my grandpa coming up from the basement and laughing because everyone was selling off he was a big utility investor and people were selling off their utility stocks, and he was just laughing that people were willing to sell them to him at that price. And he couldn't be happier about it, and this experiences like that. That's the story of the farm. And at the front of the farm, when you pull in, my grandpa had these two masonry pillars built, and there's a plaque on the front of them. It's called Tall Oaks. That's what my grandpa called the family farm, was Tall Oaks. And it's because there's these massive tall oak trees. I mean, just right there, right in front of what was their house. It's so the Tall Oaks has meant something generationally to my family.
Yeah.
And what does it mean? It means learning. It means stability. It means growth. It means knowledge. It means
that intergenerational, learning and wealth. And I think too, those oak trees live for a long time.
It's not an easy thing to build oak trees, right? It's not an easy thing to build intergenerational wealth. Like you have to pay attention to it. And sometimes you will not ever be the person to see the fruits of your labor, right? If you're the guy that plants the oak tree, you may not be the one that ever sits under its giant shade, right? It might be a generation or two after you. Yeah. But unless the person in the here and now makes the decision to plant the tree and grow that and tend to it, it's not ever going to happen. Yeah. Right. And so that's why I'm really excited to lean in on the Tall Oaks name, as it means something obviously so important to me, but what it stands for is what I want to share with people. That's the intention of not only our firm, but it's the intention of this podcast, right? Yeah. Which is we want to help people. We want to be a place that people can learn and grow and have stability, and build that stability for themselves and plant those oak trees for their families. It's not an easy thing to do. And there's so much stuff out there on social media that is misleading or hyperbolic or inaccurate or clickbait or just not even, just patently not even true.
Yeah.
And, it gives us a heavy lift sometimes because what we talk about might be the mundane, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might be the mundane. It might be the boring
It might
stuff.
not be so exciting, but it is
But-
stuff that's important to know, to understand, to implement.
But yeah, we have learned some lessons across 3 generations
Yeah.
of building and transferring wealth. And that's what we want to share that with people. And, the people that tend to like us and work with us professionally, I imagine are the same people that will like in listening to and enjoy our podcast. And that's people with reasonable expectations that want to see stability and growth, and they want to play the long game, like really play the long game.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always think about when I talk about intergenerational wealth, and I reflect back on the Tall Oaks name and what my grandpa stood for, was, it was, he never stood for how could I get rich the quickest. It was never that. It was, what can I do to help people around me, and what is going to keep me wealthy the longest?
Yeah.
And that was his focus. He's a very generous man, and he was a very reasonable man that was interested in preserving his wealth as he grew it. And, that's what we stand for, right? Because that's how you grow an oak tree. You can't, it's the old thing, if you're supposed to cook a chicken in the oven, 300 degrees, 30 minutes, you can't go you can't go 900 degrees for 10 minutes. It just doesn't work the same way. So that's why we're making the change. That's the story of Tall Oaks and what it means and what it stands for. And we hope that people want to follow along, lean in. I've appreciated the engagement from people so far in this podcast project. It's been like over a year and a half now. So I know I've done a lot of the talking, and I always appreciate your unwavering support. What are your thoughts?
I'm just really excited about the focus of the podcast, that it's, you've already talked about that, but it's the education elements. It's the long-term, it's setting the right expectations, giving good information, just all of those things put together. And that's who we are. That's what we do for our clients. And that's what we want to provide to the world is, anybody listening is that information that you're looking for to be able to get yourself in the right position financially, and to make a difference for generations to come. Because, when it comes to finance, it is all about time, right? Like time is your best asset. It's your best resource. And I think that's part of what we're going to be sharing here on this podcast is it's not just that short-term quick fix. It's that long-term, like those tall, beautiful oaks that you see.
Yeah. And they Tall Oaks, that shade, it covers a lot of stuff. And we intend on doing that in this podcast.
Yeah. There's a lot of different facets of information that we can cover within wealth management. And I think that, that's something that we're going to do. Anything that is covered, related to finance, right?
Yeah, really that, like not even just managing wealth, but growing wealth.
Yeah.
And thinking about wealth. And that covers so many topics. And I think people that have been serious followers of the podcast so far have probably noticed that we've had such a diverse background of guests so far. Everything from, real estate agents that help first-time home buyers, and insurance agents that help people set them up with their property and casualty insurance, like understanding those things that kind of everyone has to deal with.
Yeah.
All the way up to, I've had some of the, hedge fund managers that have managed some of the largest hedge funds in history on the podcast. And I've had some really interesting, unique perspectives there. We've talked about crypto. We've talked about real estate, commercial real estate. We've talked all kinds of stuff. I look forward to continuing to do that. So whether it's helping people understand maybe some current events that's going on in the markets, thinking about risk in different ways, having different investment philosophies or ideas on different planning concepts, behavioral finance, insurance, estate planning, like all of these things, they all play into, your opportunity set as any one individual to grow, build, maintain, preserve your wealth, right? And that's the stability that we hope to provide to people through education. And so with that, I always want to invite everyone, like, we don't get a lot of responses on this, but please, if you're listening, I desperately want to hear from you.
Yeah,
right?
If there's like a specific topic or questions that you have that you want to hear, our perspective or our side of things, like we'd love to share that information with you. We want to know what you want.
We do this for you guys, right? We do this for the listeners. I don't come on the podcast and necessarily learn new things all the time. Sometimes I do. And sometimes even just thinking it through, it helps me think through some things, but, we want to be providing the value. So please, if you have questions, you see stuff that you just think is a really cool idea, but don't understand how it would work, or is it legit? Like send it over to us, like grab a link, hop on our website, hit contact us, send us the link, say, is this legit? We'd love to hear about it on the podcast. Send a comment, instant message, hit us on direct messages,
email,
whatever. Yeah. Happy to hear from everyone out there. Remember we do this, we do this for all of you guys. So, we do really greatly appreciate the support that we've had so far in the project. And, I'm really excited about the next chapter here.
Yeah. So without further ado, thanks for joining us for the first episode of Tall Oaks Podcast.